that will go down to Pluckley on a bitterly cold night and strip off completely naked. And let's face it, even if you did this bizarre act, even if the devil does appear, the last thing he wants to see is you standing there, completely starkers, all wrinkled up in the cold midnight air. And the worst thing about it is, of course, nobody knows where this bush is. Now, if you've ever been to Pluckley or Ashford, it's quite rural. There are probably about 80 million bushes in Ashford. Now, I don't know anybody that has ever found this bush, but again, it all adds to the mystery of Pluckley, the same as Bluebell Hill. Now, I've been to Loch Ness many, many years ago, and I believe that what is in Loch Ness is probably a big catfish. But they cannot call it the Loch Ness catfish, because it does not sell t-shirts. They need it to be some ancient monster. And I believe that whether you believe in ghosts or not, that is not what I'm here to sort of ask you today. I believe it's important that we have mystery. When I was a kid, you know, I loved local stories. I went out through the woods, I could recognise different sort of nature, and of course it enabled me to be the person I am today. Some people would say slightly unhinged. However, if it wasn't for my dad's stories, then again, I wouldn't be sort of writing about all this stuff and making the public aware that some of these ghost stories are simply myth. But some of these places are genuinely odd. Over the years, there's been so many sort of battles and bloody sort of wars that have taken place, and a lot of this energy does of course seep into the soil. Bluebell Hill is genuinely creepy. If anybody is interested or brave enough, I actually do a ghost walk or a historical walk around Bluebell Hill, and I usually do this in the afternoon. But I've had so much interest recently from people wanting to do it at night. Now, last week I took a group of 20 people up to Bluebell Hill. It was around midnight, and I took them down into this very dark stretch of woodland where over the years people have reported seeing this enormous creature about 8 foot tall, covered in hair. And I thought, I don't know, really what people are seeing here, but it added to the mystery. And once we were standing there, I went to talk about it when suddenly 4 women and 2 blokes screamed, and they said this enormous figure stood there, looked at us, and walked off behind us. Now, I don't know what this animal or this creature is, but it's clearly not flesh and blood. But over the years, I've had to study sort of monster folklore and stuff such as that, and I believe that all over the world, in different cultures, there are many things such as monsters. I grew up with stories of Sinbad and Clash of the Titans. I was interested in sort of Jason and the Argonauts, going to faraway places, looking for the Minotaur and Harpies. I never believed in these animals, but one thing I did want, I wanted them so desperately to exist. And I believe that if you believe in something enough, you can actually put it out there. And this has been proven with Pluckley and the Phantom Hitchhiker of Bluebell Hill. And I just like to go through old folklore and prove to people that these stories, these old ghost stories, have always been there through time. And as they say on Crime Watch, don't have nightmares. Thanks a lot.
Anybody got any questions I'd like to ask Neil? Any questions? Anything you've seen in the room while he was talking?
Do you see?
Over there where I was sitting? Sorry.
Do you think there's maybe physical
Right, regarding, over the UK, all over the world, we get these so-called sightings of these Bigfoot and Yeti and stuff like that. Now, of course, lots of people take the mickey out of this sort of stuff. I don't believe in a lot of this stuff. I think you've got to really stand back and have a try and zoological, scientific point of view. If you go back through sort of medieval folklore, however, there are mentions of sort of the Woodwose, which is like an ancient wild man covered in hair. And also Bluebell Hill used to be a Neolithic site, so there could be sort of Neolithic hunters in regards to sort of ghosts and that sort of thing. But regarding sightings in other parts of the world, now I've got 2 friends who in 2 weeks are going to Sumatra to look for a creature called a orang pendek. A orang pendek is about this high, and 2 zoologists have seen it. Now people often say, why don't credible people ever see these big cats and all these creatures? Well, they do, but a lot of people don't report it because of fear of ridicule. Now usually people say that policemen are quite credible witnesses. Now believe me, I think that's rubbish. I know loads of bent coppers, so it's amazing sort of how a policeman is considered more credible over you. But people do see strange creatures all over the world. Now when you consider something like the Yeti or this orang penyek, this is possibly some type of upright walking ape that is unknown to science. And they know this because they've got several hairs of this animal. And science believes it is somewhere between around like an orangutan type of build, but it is not an orangutan because an orangutan does not walk upright for long distances. The Yeti, they keep saying it's a bear. Bears do not walk upright on long distances, and bears have a bloody great muzzle on its face. So again, I think we need to realise that only during the early 1900s did we actually find the mountain gorilla. And folklore used to talk about, the tribes used to say that a man runs out of the forest, he's covered in hair, and he beats his chest. And science says absolute rubbish. And then they shot one. The only way, of course, like anything, is if we can shoot one. We'll never prove that aliens exist, we'll never prove that ghosts exist, but we might be able to prove that some of these so-called monsters are in fact very real creatures. But most of the other stuff, I believe, is down to human psyche, and also, again, we're never going to prove that we can get ghosts. People recently have been filming all these orbs and stuff like that, but over the years, I believe, whether it's crop circles, cattle mutilations, alien abductions, none of this is new. And it goes back absolutely centuries in folklore. And that possibly suggests that it's always been there with mankind, but maybe, just maybe, we put it there unintentionally, if that makes sense.
I have a question.
Okay.
What's your take on the legend of Dartmoor?
What legend on Dartmoor?
The beasts.
Well, there are large cats down on Dartmoor. Arthur Conan Doyle, his Hand of the Baskervilles, was based on a very large black cat that was seen on the moor. But people have actually seen a puma on Dartmoor. There's a zoo down Dartmoor, and they've got 2 pumas. And at night they hear pumas crying from the woods. And they've actually seen puma walking around their pen. The problem with the big cats is the government will never admit they exist, simply down to one thing, and that is money. They would have to go out and probably exterminate every one of these cats. So it's down to people like myself to obviously go out and make the public aware that these animals exist. So the next time you guys are out walking in the local woods, always remember to look up.
Oh yeah. What is your take on actually what Bluebell Hill is? Would you say it's some sort of portal, maybe a dimensional gateway, or is it a government research? Or,
no, there's no government research. Bluebell Hill, like Stonehenge, is just one of those kind of so-called special places. We call them window areas, but I believe this stuff happens everywhere. Basically, if a big sort of monster appeared in Asda supermarket, it's not really got the same type of atmosphere, even if somebody does see it. So when you get areas like Bluebell Hill and Pluckley, I don't think they're any more special than anywhere else.